Ford Motor. Can you see that?
I can.
Yeah. Okay. Gosh, rough country. So we have murals all over the place, but yeah, that engineering design process one is one that we refer to a whole lot. I know I'm moving around a whole bunch here,
No,
but
that's fine. I love it. Thank you for
yeah.
showing me your room.
Yeah, thanks.
That's nice. You have a great space.
I do. I'm very fortunate. It worked out great. The space that I'm in right now it used to be computer labs. So we had three computer labs. We have about
Hmm.
450 students in our building. So back when we needed computers, we had these computer labs and students would take typing and things. And then we went one-to-one about 4 or 5 years ago. So students have their own Chromebooks, their own laptops that they can carry home with them. Um, and so, we had three computer labs that they were all connected with walls in between. And so at my old classroom, I had just painted. I'd done some really cool decor things in there I was excited about. And then they brought me in here. And of course, it was just an old computer lab that had the electrical towers hanging down from the ceiling where you could plug in multiple computers. And they were like, "What do you think about this space for your new STEM lab?" And I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I just worked so hard in my other room." But I am so happy that we moved. Of course, had to put in new flooring and things, and uh,
Hmm.
it's been a great space to do some of these cool projects. And when we start with our hovercrafts, we have plenty of space. I think it's 80. No, 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 no. I'm wrong on that. 70 feet maybe from one end to the other.
Oh, wow.
It's ginormous, yeah. So it's exciting, but it gives us, we got a lot of big projects and things, and
Hmm.
one that I'm going to share with y'all today, we need a lot of space for. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah,
thanks for showing that. That was really
yeah,
cool. I like
yeah.
that.
Thank you.
I think of all the years I've known you, I've never been to your classroom. We've only met, I think, either at
Wow.
Dyersburg State or
Huh?
virtually. So,
Wow. Well, we need to get you down here. We're only about
yes,
7 miles away,
I
so
know, not
uh,
far at all.
yeah, for sure. Just anytime you want to stop in, we have visitors a lot come through our school, so we're always excited to have guests for sure.
Absolutely. Now, you guys are a STEM certified school.
We are. Yeah, we are. And let me, I don't know, Shauna, if I share something on my screen, I'm trying to see.
Oh, here, let me get it to where you can share. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's okay. I was trying to find so if I just share right now, could y'all see that? Can you see that?
Paper for your safety and scan or take pictures of a completed form. Upload the images to the canvas.
Right now, hang on just a second.
Um,
Can you put
Try again.
what's in
okay.
this one?
Tell
It's
me when
set
you see
up
a
so,
document. Yeah, okay, so do you see a document now?
I see you.
Okay, so, let me see. It's okay. Let's see how we can do this. Uh-oh. And go back to you. Let's see. Normally, it's been a minute since I've used Zoom. Normally, it has like share screen option, but I'm not seeing that.
So when you hover down at the bottom, do you see this share screen
Uh,
option?
yep, I see share. There we go.
Okay.
Desktop one. Ooh, okay. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Hang on, I'm looking here. So I'm just going through a menu here. Um, hmm. And it's not a big deal. You can't see that?
Well, you should be able to share. Are you working off multiple screens or just one screen?
No, just one. Um,
Okay, okay, I see it. There you
that
are.
okay, yeah,
Yep,
yeah. Just basic information. I wanted to show you on video today too, but um, and hopefully, okay, I see now, Sean. I
yep.
see the top screen share, stop share. Okay, yeah. So just some general information there if um
Okay,
anybody needed some extra info or had questions, afterwards. But I can share that at the end. I just wanted to make sure
okay.
you guys could see that at some point. So
All right. Well, it is 3:31, and to respect everybody's time, we're going to go ahead and get started. Everyone, thank you all so much for joining us today. Mike French from Northview Middle School is here with us today, and he's on fall break. So I'm not sure if some of you guys are or not. I know that fall break is coming up for lots of schools. Like we have fall break next week, and I'm counting down the seconds. I'm ready for a 2-day reprieve for sure. But
Yeah.
Mike is here with us today, and I'm just going to go ahead and hand it over to him and let him get started.
Awesome. Thanks, Shauna. Hey guys, I'm excited to collaborate with you guys today. We are again, as Shauna said, we are on fall break, but I'm in my classroom today. Have enjoyed the weather a little bit today and gotten outside, but it is good to have a little break in the fall for sure. So, kind of what I wanted to go through a little bit today is hopefully something that you guys can use in your classroom. That whether you're elementary, middle school, or high school. This particular project that I'm going to share with you guys today is something that can be easily adapted to whatever audience you have, whatever grade level you teach. And there's so many varieties. So I'm going to kind of go over, I guess, a plethora of things, and somebody stop me if you have questions. But one thing before we get started on that, I think, Sean, I think was it David Tate that maybe shared the STEM cards today online, I think, on y'all's Facebook page. So one thing here that was shared, and I'm just going to kind of pull from that, are these little cards. They're STEM cards. And so these are very useful for any grade level, but it's just a cool way to kind of get started if you're not real familiar with how to incorporate a project into your classroom, whether you're an ELA teacher, a math teacher, or even a STEM teacher or whatever. Sometimes it's hard to find some creative ways to incorporate some of those projects into your curriculum. And so tying those in, when there's a project, when there's hands-on learning, students just seem to understand it a little bit more. And so that's the joy of STEM, is you can really incorporate that into a variety of ways and also in a variety of classrooms, which is part of, and I don't know how many of you guys are part of or are attempting to get STEM designated through the state, but that is one thing that is required, is that every classroom, no matter what subject area, every classroom incorporates a project of some kind that's hands-on that ties into the curriculum. And so these cards are really, really cool, and I'm just kind of plug a few of these in. But they have Earth and space, and so on the front, it's very easy to follow. But on the front, they kind of just tell some suggested materials, like you see right here. And then on the back of the card, it just kind of has some instructions of some things that you can do. Talks about different, just different ways you can incorporate some of these, like this drip, drip, drop challenge. How many water drops can fit on a penny, just kind of getting kids excited about, making some, making some predictions and things as they're learning. And so then they get to experiment with that. And it's just a really fun way. But a lot of times when I taught third grade for 10 years prior to coming to middle school. And a lot of my books that we would read in class, a lot of things you can find in the literature that you're reading with your students that can really tie into a really cool project. And kind of what sparked my brain into incorporating projects even before STEM was a thing was we were reading a book about a little boy. He had a boat, like a little raft or whatever, that he used in the story that we were reading. And he used that to go fishing and things like that. So to kind of tie that in, at the end, it had an option to build a little popsicle stick raft. You guys have probably seen that before, right? So a little popsicle stick raft, you give them limited supplies and then see how many pennies your raft can hold. And so it's just a cool way to tie that in. And so every time I did a project, I noticed my student scores were going up when we had comprehension tests and things on some of the books that we were reading. So that really kind of sparked interest in incorporating those. And so as a STEM teacher now, I try to incorporate those into to follow the curriculum as far as the science standards and the math standards for our middle school students. And so one of the projects I'm going to show you today is probably very familiar to most of y'all, but it is Catapults. And so with Catapults, I start, even at the middle school level, I start at the very basic elementary level, I guess. And so I'm going to kind of take you through 3 different phases. phase one could be taught, gosh, to preschoolers all the way up to, I mean, I still teach phase one in middle school. So even in the high school level, I think it would work as well. But um, I went to a Chinese restaurant with my family years ago, and they asked if my two boys wanted chopsticks. And I was like, and we don't know how to use chopsticks. We'll just take a fork. But they showed me these chopsticks they had that were kid friendly. And you may have seen them. They kind of look something like this, right? They kind of had a little rubber band and a little wedge, and kiddos could pick up their food with that. And I looked at those chopsticks and I was like, that's a catapult. Like if you look at it, that's really a catapult, right? So I came back to school and I was like, let's figure out how we can make a catapult. And so, guys, this is very basic. Two popsicle sticks, a rubber band, and then a sheet of paper. And then I just used just a little bit of painter's tape, and I'm going to explain why painter's tape is probably a better use. So with catapults, kind of what I want to do whenever I introduce catapults is I just kind of give some brief history. So I just ask the general questions, like how were catapults used in the past? And most students kind of know just the, basics from maybe movies or maybe from social studies, whatever that is, that catapults were once a weapon, in warfare of some kind. And so, they know catapults are used to launch things. And so if they're big YouTubers, you might find people who are launching pumpkins with giant catapults, things like that. So I just kind of take them through just a quick little history lesson. Yes, that they were used, in battle years and years ago. So then I asked the question, are catapults used today? And, then the students are kind of stumped for a second. They're like, well, I don't really think that they are. And so anyway, so we kind of go into how catapults are used, probably not in the traditional fashion, but on aircraft carriers. Catapults are used to launch the jets off of an aircraft carrier. Kind of the same system. It's just a pulley system or whatever. And so anyways, and it launches jets. But that's one common use. And so one thing that I started, so I give them two popsicle sticks, a sheet of paper, and a rubber band, and I ask them, can you make a catapult? So I just let them kind of explore different ways, and they kind of want to make like a slingshot of some kind, or things like that. And so then I kind of show them, if you just take a little wedge of paper, and I'm going to hold this up to the camera here. It's just folded paper right there. You can see that the rubber band is tied around the bottom of the stick, and it just kind of creates a little spring. So you can tie this in. When I taught third grade, we had to teach simple machines. And so this is a lever and a fulcrum, right? So it's just a simple machine. So you could even tie that into, science standards or whatever for whatever grade you're teaching. So just a simple machine of a lever and a fulcrum there in the middle. And so the painter's tape, I just kind of fold it over so the sticky side's on the outside. And so what's cool about this is I let students build this, and then and I've used different things over the years, but I use the ping pong ball. Ping pong balls are very lightweight. They are, I don't know, they kind of bounce around kids and, they're colorful. But we've used marshmallows before. We've used little balls of paper that we've rolled up. But a ping pong ball will stick, if you stick it just right, it'll just stick to that tape and it really won't fall off. But the tape, and this is why painter's tape is really useful, it's not so sticky that it's going to hold on to the ping pong ball and not let it fly. It's sticky enough to hold it, but also not so sticky where the ball can actually be released. And so, of course, then students pull back, right? And y'all know what's going to happen, right? So when you launch this dude, it's going to go flying across my classroom over there. So what I do with them is I give them a cup. And so it's kind of a partner thing. Everybody makes their own. And then I put a cup in the middle of a table, put it in the middle of the floor, equal distance away. And I give them 5 minutes, just kind of as a warm up. How many shots can you make into the cup with your ping pong ball? So of course, ping pong balls are bouncing all over the place, and it's pretty fun. The kids are excited, and they kind of understand. And what I'm watching for when we do phase one of this right here, kind of what I'm watching for is, are they figuring out trajectory? Because that's where I'm going with this at some point. Are they figuring out the angle of the launch to get it into the cup? And so that's the cool thing about the engineering design process, right? So if they're trying to make it into the cup and they know, if you look at this, that angle is probably, I don't know, maybe a 25-degree angle, something like that, 30-degree angle. And so to get it into the cup, they know that this is, kind of shooting almost straight up and coming back down. So they know they need to get a little distance. So how do you get distance? So I just let them explore those things, which is probably the best thing about teaching is just allowing them to try to figure things out, maybe with a little bit of guidance. So again, I use this at the middle school level. Again, it's just a cool way to kind of teach if you're teaching potential energy, kinetic energy, all of those. And so then I tie this in. Once we kind of have played a game, see who can score the most amount of goals or baskets, in 4 or 5 minutes. Then, and then we stop, and then I take them to the next level where I tie it into baseball and football and things like that. So if a punter needs to punt the football, a certain distance, what trajectory is a good trajectory? If I'm a pitcher, and I tell them about my glory days of baseball. When I was a pitcher, I wanted my trajectory to be released where the ball shoots, straight or releases off my hand in a straight line to the catcher. And if I'm in the outfield, though, and I need to get the ball far distance, my trajectory is going to go more of in an arch, right? And so we kind of talk a little bit about that. I show some examples of some home runs and things like that. You can always incorporate that into your lesson. And so then, now that they understand trajectory, then I ask them to go back to this catapult that they made. And now, how can you change your trajectory with this simple machine? And so then you start seeing them, they're starting to think outside the box. And they're like, man, maybe I could prop it up on something like my notebook or like a folder or something like that. And so the angle goes from flat on a table like this. Now they're propping it up on something. And so now the trajectory angle changes a little bit. And now they're able to get more distance. And you start to see them figure those things out. And it's really cool to watch them do that. So this is one, and I know we've had lots of school systems come to our school to observe some, different things in STEM. And a lot of schools have, they may teach STEM one day a week. It could be an exploratory or some kind of enrichment type opportunity, and they only get that class one time a week or maybe 2 times a week. However many days you have students, this is an easy way. This could be a 1-day lesson, or it could be a 3-day lesson. It could be a 2-day lesson because they're having some fun trying to figure out, and they're using the engineering design process to kind of go through those steps to, design some kind of a solution, test that design, look at their results because they get instant results from the ping pong ball. Did it make it or did it not? And so they get, and they're constantly making adjustments, which is what you want them to do whenever they're doing a project like this. And so again, you could turn this into a, first group to get to 10, you could have incentives, whatever you wanted to do on that. But you could turn this in, it could be a 1-day, 2-day, 3-day, whatever. I use it for about 1 to 2 days. And then I shift gears and then we move to phase 2. So before I move to phase 2, any questions or anything that anybody wants to ask before I move to this? Very simple. Again, 2 popsicle sticks, rubber band, wedge of paper right there, and some painter's tape. It's very simplified. You can, like I said, you can launch marshmallows, you can launch little paper balls, you could launch whatever. So then we move to phase 2. And so phase 2 is a little bit, I turn it into a competition. And that's one cool thing about STEM is that most everything that we do at Northview Middle School is we try to turn everything into a competition because at the middle school level, for all of you middle school teachers, you know that students love competition and they want to win. And so phase 2 kind of brings out that competitive side to students. And then that's when you really see their best because they are competing. They're competing, for bragging rights or whatever the incentive is. But no one wants to lose in this competition. So then I take it from, we understand, and I'm kind of bridging from phase 1, potential energy, kinetic energy, trajectory. So then I bridge from that trajectory into angles. And so in middle school, 6th grade math, man, we talk about angles a lot. And so that's one of the standards. I don't know if it's introduced in 6th grade. I don't think it is. I think it's introduced in the elementary grades, but it's one of those that's scaffolded from grade to grade. And of course, angles, they're going to see that all throughout their high school days too. So then we start talking a little bit about angles and trajectory angles. And so phase 2 is a cardboard catapult. So now I give them a little bit sturdier materials and then kind of explain to them what the objective is. So the objective in phase 2 remember phase one, their objective, try to make a ping pong ball into the cup. Phase two objective is to launch an aluminum foil ball, about a 1 ounce aluminum foil ball, 25 feet to hit a target. Okay. So what they don't know in the very beginning is that that target is another person's catapult. And so anyway, so I get them to kind of draw out some designs. And so Shauna, I'm going to try to share this real fast, this little video here, and tell me if you see, something change here, hopefully. Let's see.
Yes, I can see the
Okay,
screen that
can
you're
y'all?
sharing.
Great. Okay, so let me slide this over. Okay, so this is a little video that we use when people come to our school. We kind of do a little presentation for them. And so you see the student there launching, hitting a target. And so phase two catapults, again, are just simple cardboard pieces of, let me go back, right. Here we go. Okay, so you can kind of see the setup, right? So you have a couple of columns, you have a base of some kind, you have your launching arm, you have your whatever is going to hold your projectile, and then again, potential kinetic energy, you're kind of bridging off that. So you have rubber bands as your power source for this one. And so with phase two, again, the objective, launch 25 feet. So you can give them whatever supplies you have, but for the most part, it's just cardboard and maybe some kind of a wooden dowel. Gosh, I've used pencils before as the kind of the pivot bar. And so you can see the students here launching, like I said. And so anyways, and so let me see your screen sharing. All right, I'm gonna stop my sharing here and go back. Hopefully I can get y'all back here. I hadn't lost you yet, have I, Shauna?
Nope,
Okay.
you're
Okay.
here. We see you.
Okay. I think, here we go. Okay, there we go. Now, okay, so that's phase two. And so then, like I said, you talk a little bit about cardboard. You can even talk about how cardboard is engineered. If you want to take it to that level with the corrugation, and cardboard is strong in some ways, but it's super weak if if you're going against the corrugation or going with the corrugation. So I'm gonna slide back a little bit. So this is a current catapult that our students are making. Again, cardboard, so that's a larger one. Here is a smaller one. And so you can kind of get the idea. Very basic. Again, it's just, triangles. Some students use columns, like I showed you in the video. Some students use a triangle column, like you see right there. And so again, kind of the same system, right? So you have a little pivot bar. I've used bolts this year for pivot bars just because they're a little more sturdy. So you can kind of see that bolt kind of going through. But the main thing on this one is, on this phase, is students need to understand the trajectory. So if you look at the side of this one, you can see when this student pulls it back, where does the launching arm stop? And so what angle does that launching arm stop? And so if you look at it, it's here's 90 degrees, right? And so this student, when it finally stops, it's past 90 degrees. So students can kind of see, and they're going to see when they test, this is going to go almost straight to the floor because of the launching angle. So that's a simple thing to fix, is the launching angle, because it's just a stopper bar, and that's all you have to do is change the stopper bar, change the position of where the launching arm stops. So let me grab this one. Okay, so for this student, you can kind of see the angle is a little bit, it's maybe about 80 degrees. It's not quite 90, so it's got a little bit of angle to it right here. So they're going to get results that are going to, obviously launch a little further because of the trajectory angle of their launching arm. Again, just reinforcing that skill. And so this one right here is a little bit similar. It's kind of a medium-sized one. Again, rubber bands. They have to kind of figure these things out. And then, again, talking about the angle of the launching arm. So it's a really cool way to kind of get them excited about competition, but also understanding the angles and the trajectory of the release point of those little aluminum foil balls. And so I give them targets. It takes a couple of days to build these. And this is more of a long-term project, as far as if you have STEM with them, 1 day a week, then this is going to take you probably 3 or 4 visits for students to make this. Now, if you have elementary students and you wanted to make something like this, I don't know that elementary students would be really good at cutting thick cardboard like this. So it may be something that, I don't know, it need to be, maybe need to be pre-cut or whatever resources you can use to get the cardboard cut. But once they get it, it's super fun because you have a variety of things you can do with this. Again, talking about angles and depending on the grade level. Again, trajectory, we talked about that. Potential energy, kinetic energy, and even elastic potential energy. I know that's a key vocab word in middle school science for sure. And so lots of cool things with that. And so then they start to compete against each other. And so we have catapult A versus catapult B. And so then they, now that they know it's a competition, they're trying to make a design that is smaller, like a small target. So they're not an easy target for their opponent to hit. So now they're launching these aluminum foil balls at each other's catapults. And of course, we wear safety glasses and things, but these are, it's just aluminum foil. It's not really going to hurt, but we do want to protect eyes for sure. And so obviously our students wear safety glasses. And so now they're using something that is very flimsy. It's not a very durable material. Once you pull back that lever 50 to 60 times, it's going to start to weaken a little bit. Then they start to learn, the elasticity of the rubber bands weakens over time. So these are just all variables that they kind of figure out over time. They're like, man, it used to shoot 25 feet, but today it only shoots 20 feet. And so now you can turn that into a distance type thing. Shot A landed 20 feet, shot B landed 22 feet. You could even turn that into a math. Let's find averages, right? What is the average distance? Gosh, there's a million ways that you could incorporate, some of these launches into it could be a bar graph, it could be a pie graph. How many students hit, 25 feet, hit a target at 25 feet. So lots of varieties on that. So that's what's cool about phase 2 catapults. And then, so I kind of just turned it into like a tournament bracket. So if you've ever seen like a, March Madness bracket or something like that. So I have student A versus student B, right? So I put it on the board and we got the little, bracket. And so the winner, advances over, and then the winner of that advances over until we get down to a champion. And it is very intense. Like students take this so seriously. And it's exciting to see them get excited about learning something like this. And so it's just a cool way to get students excited. Again, teaching angles. They're not even recognizing sometimes, because they're having so much fun with it, that they're actually learning other skills involved with catapults. It's just such a cool way to get them excited. And again, like I said, that could be elementary, could be middle school, and even high school. I mean, you could use this in a high school classroom and just do a simple competition. So that's phase 2. And again, I reiterate the baseball pitcher, the pitcher versus the outfielder, things like that. So the competition part, though, is amazing. And this turns into about a 2 to 3 week competition. And so, because once a student's eliminated, then they're like, I want to get back into the competition, so then we just make another tournament bracket. So you could keep that as long as you wanted to keep that going. But for us, I kind of stop it after about 2 weeks because we have phase 3 catapults. And so phase 3 catapults are the big mama jamas, is what I call them. They're huge, and they're made out of much sturdier materials. And so before I move to phase 3, any questions about phase 2 catapults, the cardboard catapults that we use? Again, just basic. It's just a elastic rubber band. You have a launching arm. Now we use hot glue at the middle school level. So obviously I teach students how to use the hot glue gun safely. But gosh, I mean, it could be duct tape. It could be anything just to hold some pieces of cardboard together. Again, I have a bolt, but you can even use, I have one here, a wooden dowel to act as your pivot bar. And I have even used just a simple pencil that you could just slide in there. But this year I used bolts just because I had an extra supply of them from last year's phase 3 catapults. And I'm going to get to that here in just a second. So if there are no questions, then I'll move on to phase 3. Now, phase 3, I love because phase 3, I get to teach students how to use a handsaw. And gosh, it's amazing how many students have never used a saw. They don't own a saw at their house. No one in their family has, a handsaw. And also they get to use a drill. So it's a cool way for me to teach safety for sure. That's, I always tell the students, STEM is not my number one job. My number one job is to keep you safe. STEM is my second, the second part of that job. And so I take that very seriously. We go over safety rules. We practice, I kind of model, and then we practice how to use the saw safely and all those things. And so phase 3 catapults, I'm going to hold this one up for you. Phase 3 catapults are pretty big. So students can make them as big as they want. I don't know how good y'all can see that there, but there's kind of the launching cup. You can kind of see the columns, the A-frame right here as a support. There's still that pivot bar in the middle. You can kind of see that. And these are not powered with rubber bands. These are powered with bungee cords. And so here's the cool thing about phase 3. Phase 3 is where they have to purchase supplies using a budget. And so, of course, we're all adults. We all have to work under a budget in some way, shape, or form, whether it's at our work or whether at home or whatever, right? So I have, and I showed this earlier to Sean, I'm going to turn my computer screen. I have French's Construction Supply Store, which is just kind of my classroom store, I guess, if you want to call it that. So students are given a budget of $150 of, fake money. It's on paper. And so then I have a supply list of things that they can purchase for their phase 3 catapults. And so I give them the startup supplies. I give them 16 feet, which is 2 8-foot boards of 1x1, just basic wood boards that you get from Lowe's. Lowe's donated all of the boards for us. They're just kind of scrap boards. They're not like finished or anything. So they're kind of rough, and they have splinters, and so you got to watch that a little bit. But it's just a rough board. That's a 1x1, and so very, very simple. And so, anyways, and so they get 16 feet of those. I give them 6 screws. Okay, these are just startup supplies. And then I give them, let me think, 6 screws. Oh, and then I give them the bolt, the pivot bolt. Everything else they have to spend out of their 150. And I always tell the students, I said, French's Construction Supply Store is the only store you can buy from for your catapult, because let's be honest, not every kid can go home and go into the garage and get extra things. Some kids are going to have a huge quantity of things, and some kids aren't going to have anything. And so they have to purchase everything from me. And that just kind of keeps it on a level playing field for sure. And so when we're going through this, if they want duct tape, I always tell them my prices are the best prices in town. So 1 foot of duct tape is $5 to kind of give you an idea, right? So it's very inflated for sure. Bungee cords, though, that's going to be your power supply. So small bungee cords start at $50. A medium bungee cord goes to $75. And if you want the extra or the large or extra large, they go to $85 and $90. So they really got to, you're always going to have that one kid, though, that in every group that is like, let's wrap the whole thing up in duct tape. It's going to be fine, right? And spend all their budget on duct tape. But this now, it's really cool because when you give students a budget, they really think about, how do I want to spend our $150? Like, how do we want to do that? Because 6 screws that I give them is not going to get this catapult built. So it really takes about 10 to 12 screws. And so each screw is $5, right? So if they're having to buy 6 more screws, that's $30 out of their budget. So it does a couple of things. One, it teaches them how to manage their money. 2, it really makes them think about what is the most efficient thing that we can use to make our catapult work. And then 3, it really just teaches them how to construct something using limited supplies, because you just don't get unlimited, and they kind of keep up with their things a little more because they know if they don't clean up at the end of class and they leave a screw on the floor, that's $5 that they just lost, right? So it really holds them accountable, especially at the middle school level. At the end of the class period when it's time to clean up. They're not going to leave anything on the floor because it costs $5 for 1 screw, or it costs, $65 for a bungee cord, or whatever the price is. And I kind of set all that up. They have to document what they purchase. It's kind of like an old school checkbook, right? You remember how we used to kind of write down the old school checkbook things? I had this purchase at Walmart and deduct that out of your account. So it's kind of like that. And so students can just kind of come up with a variety of ways to design, to construct and design their catapults. And so the objective here, remember in phase 2, we were launching aluminum foil balls. In phase 3, we're launching tennis balls. So obviously a lot heavier. And so now, you have bungee cords that are your power supply. And so I think, I'll just be honest, I think middle schoolers, and I'm going to show you this catapult here, the best part about this, because they have learned, again, going back through the phases, just reiterating, they have learned in phase 1, potential energy, kinetic energy, elastic potential energy, simple machines, angles, right? So they've learned all of these over the past, week or two that I've spent on phases 1 and 2. And so now we get to this part that's been drilled in their head, all of those vocab words, all of those things, those key components that I'm trying to incorporate into this project. And then when you give them the opportunity to just be creative and design, some schools are STEAM schools, and so they have the art in there as well. And so I'm going to show you this catapult. As the students would say, this is kind of bougie, I guess. This is one of those higher models. These girls are Swiftie fans for sure. So this is a Taylor Swift, one of a kind. Can y'all see this? Decorated. I mean, look inside the cup. It even has glitter on the inside. Of course, Taylor Swift all around it. It's got the fluffy, furry stuff here. I don't even know what you call that. But you can kind of see they really went all out. They were so excited for this project because they got to decorate it in a Taylor Swift style. Now, I've had other students design Cookie Monster theme. One year we did a superhero, like I just gave them a theme, and that worked out great too. You can kind of control, what they're making, I guess, a little bit. So we did a superhero theme. So students made, Spider-Man and Superman catapults and things like that. And then we use these, once they figure this out, then they know that this phase 3 catapult is a competition, but not in class like phase 2. Remember phase 2, the cardboard ones, they're competing in class with these aluminum foil balls, trying to knock each other out of this tournament. Phase 3 is a little bit more intense. Phase 3 leads into our community STEM nights. And so we have, in our little town of New Bern, we have a STEM night. And so this kind of leads into that. And so at STEM night, students now know that I'm going to have to launch my catapult in front of 500 to 700 community folks, parents and grannies and aunties and uncles, and, everybody's coming to watch this. And so now the pressure's on a little bit for them to really get it right. And so that's what's cool about phase 3 catapults. So they really want to decorate it up. They really want it to look nice. And so even on this one right here, it's not as decorated as the Taylor Swift one, but they wanted this to be a pink leopard, I think, of some kind. So you can kind of see the, just the details that they put into it. It's nothing crazy, but still pretty cool. And so it just allows students to kind of have some creativity, add that art component to it a little bit, if they wanted to do that. So with phase 3 catapults again, and Sean, I'm going to try to go back to this video here and try to share. I kind of wanted to share with you guys this video. Let's see. Okay, are you seeing the video right there in the corner?
Yes.
Okay, great. So this is one of our STEM nights. So we even have some of the cardboard catapults, as you can see there. Those students are shooting the aluminum foil balls. It just depends on the class. So we go into, I do teach them the trajectory formula, which is actually a college level formula for physics, but just to introduce it to them. It's not anything that's, I'm not quizzing them on the trajectory formula, but they kind of, they're understanding. So you can kind of see these boards. Students are cutting these. They're doing some measurements. So lots of math skills involved, lots of angles. And so STEM night, they have 2 categories. Category 1 is a accuracy competition where they're trying to hit targets at different distances. So see right there, those targets are at 25 feet, 35 feet, and 45 feet. So you can see the students over here. So they get 5 shots to try to hit some of these targets. And then I move the targets back, to the next level, and then they get 5 more shots, and I move them back, and they get 5 more shots. So this is one of our, like I said, one of our STEM nights. And so we're just trying to figure out who has the most accurate catapult. And so we also go for long distance too. And I'm going to try to show you that. I think I have a video of that coming up. So you can see, I just want you to look kind of in the bleachers. I mean, you just see the community really supports things like this. We even get matching shirts sometimes, and that's what you see here. But this right here, this is kind of like our long distance competition. So it's kind of the showboat of the night, I guess. Students, obviously students want to have the catapult that can launch the furthest. And so accuracy, yes, for sure. They're trying to hit the targets, and there's a trophy for that, and there's a prize. But when it gets down to the long distance, that's almost like the home run derby, right? So everyone's just excited to see how far can my catapult launch across the gym floor. And so we kind of, we share that with our audience. And then, like I said, when it's over, we have these little trophies that we've made up. Here's some more video here. And so students who, do a great job at that, they get first, second, or third place. They get, they get little trophies. This is usually sponsored by some of our local manufacturers. NSK has always been one of our big sponsors here for our school. And so, anyways, you can kind of get the idea of how some of this works with phase 3. But students, again, they're figuring out how to drill a hole to put the screw in. They have to figure out their budget. They have to figure out measurements, because with a catapult to work properly, it needs to be symmetrical, right, in some way, shape, or form. So your right side needs to be balanced with your left side, and so it's just a really cool. So there's so many ways you can incorporate catapults into just whatever lesson you're trying to teach, whether it's a history lesson in social studies, depending on the grade level. It could be something that you're reading in ELA class. And I'm going to stop sharing this screen real fast and go back to you guys here, hopefully. Let's see. Hang on, Shauna. I'm getting there.
You're good. We see you.
Okay. There we go. Okay, good. So, like I said, there's just so many ways, and that's what I love about catapults is that you can just incorporate this into pretty much anything that you wanted to. Now, if you're at the high school level, you could even step it up a notch, even from the Taylor Swift catapult or the pink leopard catapult. You could step it up even more and go into a catapult called a trebuchet. I've seen some high schools do that, but I don't like to use that at the middle school level just because a trebuchet catapult requires a lot of weight, and it's basically a drop, and that drop allows the launching arm to pivot and launch. But I've seen some high schools, even colleges, do kind of like gosh, I think there used to be a show on television called Pumpkin Chunkin' or something like that, where they were launching pumpkins at long distances. If you have students who like the YouTube channel Dude Perfect, these 5 guys that do these cool trick shots, I've seen them launch basketballs using, a larger catapult. That might be something for a physics class in a high school, or even at the college level, depending on which level or how far you want to extend this, for sure. But and just a variety of ways to incorporate catapults into just so many subject areas. And one time we even did I guess the second year I taught catapults, even our whole school, that was every classroom, every homeroom built a classroom phase 3 catapult. So I gave them all the supplies that they needed. They didn't have to use a budget or anything, but because it was a classroom project. And so every single classroom built a catapult similar to this one, a wooden one, had the bungee cord. Everybody could pick out their own bungee cord. So just kind of let them come and pick some things with their teacher's guidance, for sure. And so every one of our homeroom classes, which we have, 18 homeroom classes. So every homeroom class, then we did a school assembly on the gym floor, and every class's catapults, because you could decorate that up however you wanted to. So you and your class would kind of work together. You'd have some students painting, some students cutting out little art designs and things. And when they brought the catapults down, it was almost like it's almost like a car show, right? So you have Catapult 1 from Miss Lawrence's class and Catapult 2 from Miss Stacy's class and Catapult 3. And so you just got to see, it was really a good visual because you really didn't know what other teachers were building in their classroom with their students until test day. And so test day, again, we just tried to do long distance competition for sure on that. So that was just a cool way to tie our entire school population into just a catapult design. And so then they went back to the classroom after that. And of course, they talked about the history of it. It's all the things I've talked to you guys about potential in Connecticut. It was just a cool way to kind of tie our whole school together on one project. And so that was really good for our school. But we've used them in a variety of different ways. And again, there's a plethora of ways that you can use catapults. So hopefully, I hope you guys have seen that catapults, they're not intimidating, even if you're not a STEM teacher or if you're not very creative in some of these projects. It's as simple as either popsicle sticks, right? So phase 1 to the cardboard ones, phase 2, all the way to the Taylor Swift ones on phase 3. So hopefully you can kind of see that you can turn this into something that's really fun and exciting. It could be a Friday fun activity, I guess, at the end of the week, and use this as kind of an incentive. Or if you're good Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we can build, popsicle stick catapults, have a competition, first team to make it into the cup. I don't know, 5 shots or whatever, they get a soda or, some little something just to get them excited about learning. And then they don't even, once they're playing games with it or having competitions with it, they don't even realize that they're learning. I mean, it's just something fun for them. So it's really cool. I've just seen students just light up and get really excited about catapults, something as simple as popsicle sticks. So anyways, but I thank y'all so much for your attention, and hopefully, like I said, you guys maybe could take something away from it. The information that I have, and I'll put that on the screen here in a minute. If please email me if you have questions. I'll put our school information up there. But we're always welcome to have visitors and things to just kind of observe, or if I can help in any way. And so I'm excited about, helping other educators. We're in the business of helping kids. And so if we can get kids excited in some way, shape, or form, and I can share that, man, that's what it's all about. So, but I thank y'all. And Shauna, thank you so much for setting this up for me.
Thank you so much, Mike. Your presentation was great. There were so many I put in the chat, like just listening to you talk with all the different possibilities here. You could go in so many different directions. It's so
Oh,
cross-curricular. Like you can incorporate this into so many different areas across the board, and how you showed the level 1, the level 2, the level 3. So
yeah,
you can start with something super simple and
yeah.
then continue to build on those concepts. So great, great. I loved it. There were
Yeah.
some people here who made some comments. Brandy Basan said, "What a great idea. My mind is whirring with lots of
Oh,
ideas." Um, Natalie Brent said, "You do an awesome job. I thoroughly enjoyed our visit when we got to come to your STEM room
oh,
once."
cool. Yeah.
Shay Armstrong, thank you so much for your great ideas. Christy Wimberly, learned so much and I appreciate you sharing. Christy
Oh,
Todd, loved your presentations. Thank you so much for sharing. So we had lots of people on here. We had 24 people today.
oh,
Um,
yay.
and
Good.
so when I send out a follow-up email to everyone, I'll let you guys know how many districts and how many schools were represented today, as well as the potential number of students that are impacted by this, which I think is the coolest part.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Mike will be back with us again for another workshop in, is it November? Or
Just
is
a
it
few weeks,
just a few weeks
October.
away? Yes, I'm
Date.
sorry. So October the 28th, Mike will be back with us for another presentation. So hopefully you can come and join that. We're
Yeah.
off of presentations next week because I will be on fall break.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
then we'll be back on the 21st as well with Defined Learning again. So please join us. Everyone who joins our workshops will get a PDP certificate. So they'll get 1 hour of PDP today. And then also stipends are available So if you've been to our workshops before and have received a stipend, then you're set. You don't need to do anything. If you're new today, if you have joined and this is the first time you've joined and you've never received a stipend, then in the email that I'll send out, you will get a blank W-9 to fill out. And then all you have to do is fill that out, send it back, and we'll get that to the business office so that you can get that stipend. Because we appreciate everybody coming in on at the end of the day after you've worked all day and you're still here trying to learn more to impact your students. Also in the follow-up email, I will send out, it will have a link for the workshop survey. So please, please, please fill that out. That's how we stay accountable to our grant funding. And that's how we are able to continue to offer programs at no cost to our regional teachers. So are there any last thoughts or questions or comments before we leave for today? All right. Well, Mike, thank you so much, especially for joining us on your fall break. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Your workshop was great today. Everyone else, I'll send out a follow-up email with you guys tomorrow with all the information regarding this. And then also this workshop has been recorded and it will be added to our YouTube channel and that'll be in our email as well.
Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining and I hope you have a great day.
Y'all too. Bye, y'all. Thank you.